Okay, good evening, all of you that are scattered around out there. I didn't want you to miss that joke. I'm just kidding. Okay. The Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees are now convened in a regular board meeting on Tuesday, June 16th, 2020 in the boardroom of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center located at 10,300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of the audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to the items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on Comcast Channel 16 and the district website. They will also be available as video on demand on the district website following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. I would also like to take this opportunity to recognize our Community Leadership Committee members who are in attendance this evening. And those are Stacy Anderson. Stacy, would you stand? And Francis Romero. Thank y'all very much for being here. I would also like to recognize our Boy Scouts, and I believe we have one Boy Scout, Enrique Gonzalez. Enrique, would you stand? Thank you for coming. I'm sure you're just going to learn lots of good information tonight. The invocation and pledge of allegiance for tonight's board meeting will be given by Jerome Jones, planter and lead pastor of Shine Bible Fellowship since its inception in 2016. Pastor Jones is inspired to mobilize his church in the community and to serve through volunteering. His church has provided volunteers to assist with our annual Bus Buddies program for the past 2 years, getting kids to and from school safely during the first week of school. Pastor Jones has 2 young daughters in Cyfair schools, so he sees our needs firsthand. Pastor Jones, we appreciate your commitment to the students and families in our district, and thank you for being here tonight. Before the invocation, I would ask that we please stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Do the prayer first.
Prayer first?
Yes.
All right. If you could bow for a word of prayer, please. Gracious God, we come before you tonight at a difficult time in our nation. God, as we're grappling with a global pandemic and the racial unrest that exists, we come before you tonight knowing that it is from you that we get the wisdom, the guidance, and all that we need to make good decisions on behalf of our community. God, we're grateful tonight for the school board and all of the administrators in this district. It is our prayer that they would lead with humility, with grace, with love, with compassion for the students and for one another. We also lift up our teachers tonight. God, that you would be with them wherever they are, and for the upcoming school year, whatever challenges come their way, that you would be near to them. Give them strength, give them courage, give them all that they need to be good stewards of the jobs that you've given them. And lastly, we lift up the students in this district. God, we pray that each student would be challenged, would be encouraged, would get a high quality education, that they may move on into other areas of life and be influencers for good. We love you tonight, and we thank you. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone, please be seated. Board member Don Ryan will read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience. Mr. Ryan.
Our vision at CFISD is formed from the acronym LEAD. To learn, empower, achieve, dream, LEAD. Our mission is to maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Also notice that Ryan Irving, who's on our community leadership. Ryan, where are you, bud? There you. Why didn't we see you up front? Did you sneak in? Did you sneak in? Really? Just a little? Okay, all right. It's good to have you here, Ryan. Thanks for coming. The board will recognize CFISD students for their achievements and accomplishments in various fields, including music, arts, academics, athletics, trade, and vocational, etc., at the national and state levels, and for exceptional or unique status. The communication department has put together an awesome video showcasing these very talented students. If you don't know, we usually at this time have them attend our meeting at the Berry Center, and we get to acknowledge and congratulate them individually. Tonight, we're going to do this through the showcase. So I'll turn it over and put on the video, please. I think the Berry Center would have been full if we had had that meeting tonight. We'll now proceed with the public comments portion of the agenda. Patrons who have duly registered per policy BED local may address the board and make public comments on an agenda item during or before the board's consideration of the item. The board may allow public comment on agenda items at all meetings. The board will continue with the remaining agenda, and registered patrons have had an opportunity to speak. To participate, registration was between 5:30 and 5:50 on the day of the board meeting. Tonight we have one comment. I think it is Paul Langone. Is that, I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Paul, if you will come up, we've got the, well, I don't think we've got the mic. We got the mic set up over there. Is it over there? Yeah. Oh, I see it now. Okay. Excuse me. I'm looking above my glasses. No. I thought, no. I'm going to walk. I'm walking home. All right. When the light comes on, is it 2 minutes we've got for this now? 2 minutes, and you'll have the green and the yellow come on 30 seconds before.
Thank you.
Okay? Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Paul Langone, representing Cyfair TSTA NEA. I am also a teacher in the district. Proposed calendar modifications provide for adding 15 minutes to the student school day to provide relief in the event of another shutdown. An additional 15 minutes will also be added to the teacher's contract time. So not only is our instructional time increasing, but the time we are required to be at school not instructing students is also increasing. This is an extension to an already long, stressful day. Most teachers work many uncompensated hours each week, from grading papers to attending meetings and everything in between. Along with incurring additional childcare costs, many teachers will have increased stress from worrying about their unsupervised children, from trying to meet their family's obligations on time and working even longer into the evening at home doing all these uncompensated tasks. During the shutdown, teachers have successfully met the tasks dealt to us. At times, our students' needs were placed above our own children, who were also distance learning. We appreciate the parents and students who hung in there while we all navigated through distance learning. We consistently worried if our students were meeting academic goals while learning at home. In return for our efforts and dedication to our students in district, we were rewarded with a 1% raise, in some cases, an increase in healthcare costs. Denied seats at the table with the continuity committee, which decides our fate, and now our hours are increased without compensation. This is just another hurtful blow. Many teachers are feeling CFISD may not value nor respect us professionally. We are respectfully asking you to consider or reconsider the additional time added to our workday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to board comments. Any board member may make a comment during this portion of the agenda without prior posting being required. Comment items may not pertain to the character of any students, staff, or board member, and may not be discussed or deliberated upon at this meeting. So I'm going to invoke presidential privilege, and I would like to have Miss Beth Wade please come up here just a little bit. Beth, two comments I found. It says, what you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make, and that's Jane Goodall. Or that famous author of musical poems, Dolly Parton, said, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one. Beth, you have done just that. Beth Wade joined us in 2005 and opened the Berry Center for Cypress-Fairbanks and the community. She has hosted basketball tournaments, wrestling tournaments, one-act plays, conferences galore, the RRR, the Globetrotters, Christian music groups, Second Baptist Church, Christmas decorations, choir celebrations, and the list goes on and on. She has hosted over 120 graduation ceremonies inside the Berry Center, and now she just hosted the first COVID-19 outside graduation ceremony for Cyfair ISD, all 12 high schools. As Beth shared, she did have a vision, and that vision became a reality, and that reality was enjoyed by those that attended with a setting that was spectacular. Beth, I know that there are a number of my colleagues that want to comment, and I just wanted to kick it off. I could not have been more proud of Cyfair ISD than I was participating on those 12 awesome ceremonies that you envisioned and implemented. What a treasure you are to our district. Thank you for being a visionary and also handling the minute details as you did, including wiping off seats after a small rainstorm. I am very grateful to you, and I know the rest of the board has things they would like to add. Gilbert, would you like to kick it off?
Yes. Hey, Beth. Yes.
Yeah, Don, you don't have to stand there anymore. You're kind of taken away.
I want to echo everything that Bob said about Beth. Oh, you are a treasure to our district. Even though I had just met you in this past year and stuff, but the things that you do and the things that I see you doing, and not only with our district graduation, but throughout the many events in our community that you are always assisting in and putting your touch on it, because your touch is a class touch and you do it perfectly. Congratulations.
And let me just jump in. We're going to talk about you first, and then board comments are going to come on other subjects later. So you're the spotlight. Tom, you're up.
Over the 9 past years, and before that, before I was a trustee, you have truly been remarkable and a treasured asset for the district. You have risen above and beyond, and what you have instituted has become known as best practices. On a personal note, prior to the graduations, 2 major medical institutions that I see strongly advised me not to go to any graduations. And I thought, well, I'll go to one and see what it's like. When I went, I realized your risk mitigation procedures were making it safe, not just for me, but for everybody else who could attend. That is a gift that you gave to the community that will always be remembered. But I also appreciate the gift that you gave to me so I could attend the graduations. Thank you, Beth.
Ms. Blackshear.
Well, Beth, you're nothing short of amazing. And, you know, when the vision of the Berry Center back in 2001, Bob, is that right? And what you have done with the Berry Center, how you have brought it to life, it has far exceeded the expectations that bond committee had way back then. And every event I attend at the Berry Center, I think, oh, it can't get any better. And then it does. And this past graduation and how you pulled off the logistics of that with your staff was incredible. And I was so thankful and grateful that we could have our in-house on the football field graduation for our students, and just to be able to afford that for them in such a challenging time as the pandemic. But never fear, Beth Wade was in charge and it was going to happen, and it happened beautifully, and you created a wonderful memory for our seniors. Thank you.
Don Ryan. Martin, did you want to say?
Beth is actually a neighbor of mine, and for those of you, the graduations were at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And so I was leaving the house what I thought was early. I'm driving by Beth's house, it's dark. She's already gone. I'm getting home what I thought was late, and I'm driving by Beth's house and it's dark. But that's what you do all the time with all the events at the Berry Center. And I wish everyone could see what we get to see up here, and that's behind the scenes, because that's where you really see the magic that takes place at an event in the Berry Center. And Beth is the reason she should get a Fitbit. I mean, she's moving the whole time, and you're just like, dang, man, she's killing it out here. But I think the real benefactors of what you do are our students. and you could see it on their faces at graduation because their senior year was just shot. And they were so thrilled, and the parents were thrilled about all the efforts you went to make a memory for them because they thought they had lost all their memories. So you impacted literally in that 1 week thousands upon thousands of families in our district, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you very much.
John?
Yes, Beth, I echo the sentiments of this board. I think back on the heat we took for the Berry Center and all the names it was called. But one thing you have done, you have proved the value of this to our district and to our community. Every time I enter, no matter what the event, large or small, you prove value. And thank you. You're a consummate professional, and we are blessed to have you.
Julie?
Well, I don't know what else I can add. We're all just big Beth Wade fans, right? I will just say thank you as a parent of a 2020 graduate. Your efforts made the end of the year very special for my family and for other graduates' families. Ooh, I'm emotional because it was such an emotional experience. So thank you. I know it was a logistical challenge, and you and your team just pulled it off, and it meant the world to us and to the graduates and their families. So thank you for all of your work. Thank you.
Sure.
I promise I won't be
I
that
see
long.
it now, Beth.
No, I thank you all so much for your kind words, the leadership you provide us to be able to do our job. We thought it was crazy to do it. You kept changing. Okay, we're going to go inside, then we're going to go outside, then we're going to try it this day. You know, but the beauty of the Berry Center is the team of industry professionals that you allow me to have on board to work with me are the reason that it happens the way it does. I mean, it's led by Assistant Director for Audiovisual, Sean Ramsey, who stays current on every single thing. The video boards, he even blew my mind away. Devin Perry, who's our Senior Event Coordinator. We call him the king of drawings and creating box office maps. Nicole Williamson, who developed our food package for just selling water at concessions. How are we going to do that with the new rules? Poor Kim Donovan, who just came on board with us as financial manager and learned how to become a box office manager, and she rocked it. And Louis Frawley, who is head of our setup crew, and a special thanks to Claudia Portillo. She's the head of our custodians. With the guidance of Cyfair ISD and Tammy Blankenship, not only did Tammy lend us people, but they took Claudia's sanitation program and they ran with it. Those guys were there from before me and after me, actually sanitizing every seat, wiping every seat, cleaning every restroom. There wasn't a corner of the inside or the outside, because the kids came through it, that they didn't have to touch. And it really takes a whole team to make that dream. And boy, I've got the best dream going at the Berry Center. Thank you for your kind words. This is so overwhelming. Thank you. I feel like I should retire or something.
Julie, do you have anything other than Beth Wade information?
Like my board comment?
Yes.
Do I have something? Like last month, I had 4 pages typed, right? I won't do that again to you. But I couldn't sleep last night because I was thinking about this, and I have so much to say, my head hurts. But I won't take too much time. There are so many uncertainties moving forward, and I know everyone's feeling anxiety about the closing out this school year and the beginning of the next school year, and we're certainly feeling that at my house too. What helps me get through that is knowing that we're not alone. We're not the only school district facing these challenges. We're not the only school district in Texas or in the country. We're all in this, and we're going to learn from each other. I know that whatever plans that we come up with They're not going to be perfect. Not everyone's going to love them 100% of the time, but we're going to learn. We're going to get through it together. I ask that the community extend, I heard this phrase, grace and space. Extend some grace and space to each other, to our teachers, to our students, to our administrators as we work through these challenges coming down the pipe. Teachers have reached out with concerns about the calendar and the pay raise. Parents have reached out with concerns about school safety, sending their kids back to school, and also their sense of urgency of the importance of getting their kids back to school. One mom reached out to me. Her son has special needs, and he's regressed significantly since not being in school. He needs to go back to school, and he needs to be with his teachers. She has a strong sense of urgency about that. Another parent reached out to me that they're struggling with, his pay was cut 35%, and he's doing 3 people's jobs. So there's just a lot of anxiety in our community that we just need to be sensitive to and just rally around each other as we move forward. So many families in our community have been affected by the economic downturn and the loss of jobs and health care. We all have a desire to get back to normal, but that's not realistic. And we talked about this. We hate that phrase, the new normal. Like, I don't know. What is that? I don't know. I feel like, and I'm a glasses half full kind of person, that moving forward is an opportunity for us to embrace change, try some things that are different, leverage. We've learned how to leverage and embrace technology in new ways for educating our kids, new ways of engaging students and parents in the learning process. So I feel like there's opportunities along with the challenges of that. New ways to connect students to the learning process and empower them. I'm pretty pumped up about that part. I am, however, truly worried about state funding cuts in the next 2 to 4 years. You know that Yogi Berra phrase, feels like deja vu all over again? It feels like that, like what happened in 2008 with that recession and then the cuts that happened after that. This recession is worse than that, and I'm concerned about those cuts. We have to make sure that the decisions we make today look not just for this immediate impact, but also the long-term impact on our community and on our teachers and on our students and on our schools. Some things to be aware of. The state legislature has compressed our tax rate, limiting our ability to gain revenue for our budget. The state legislature has capped our property value revenue growth at 2.5%, and this cap is lower than any other state service, thereby limiting our ability to gain revenue for our budget. The state has reduced our state funding by the amount of federal aid that was being sent to us, resulting in a net loss after the TAA tax is cut off the top. These are all impacting our ability to plan and deal with the current COVID-19 crisis. I encourage parents, teachers, and community members to please get ready to vote in November. Please get ready to contact your state elected officials because it's going to take all of us to fight for our students, our teachers, and our schools. Now I'm done.
Thank you, Julie. John.
I was going to add on to that. For all of us who love our district and love the education that our district provides, this is 2020, and it is an election year, and elections have consequences. Who you vote for locally, statewide, nationally, will ultimately affect what we're able to do. And so you should keep that in mind if you want this district to continue to provide a quality education for each and every child. This is a year to remember that. Also, please, whatever you do, complete the census. The census will determine a lot of things, and one of them in particular is how much funds we will get from the federal government whenever there is a disaster or for other things, medical, healthcare. It's just so much that the census will provide. And please complete that. And don't worry about them knowing something about you. Don't have a fear about that. If you have a smartphone and if you've ever bought anything off of Amazon, or if you have Googled anything, or if you have a Facebook, they know a whole lot more about you than will ever be found out by completing the census. So please be a good citizen and do that.
Thank you. Don?
I'm glad we got to celebrate Beth, but I also want to thank, at least from our standpoint on the board, the work that Deborah Stewart and Ife Agumake did for us at graduations. I don't know, is Ife here too?
They're in the overflow room tonight.
Whoa, we got overflow. So Deborah, seriously, every year it makes it, we have so much fun at graduations. I'm glad where I said I wish people could see what goes on behind the scenes with Beth. I'm glad people don't see behind the scenes at their school board acting up during the graduations. But thank you so much. Y'all do a great job. And also to our police department. Traffic flow was awesome. Traffic flow was awesome. And that's a big thank you, because that's usually that's a high traffic area to begin with, and so when you add packing people into the stadium and all the people going in and going out, that went really smooth. And then lastly, that video we just saw that Dave DeJohn and his staff put together, to see, it's unfortunate that we don't have that recognition at the Berry Center, because that's why we're here. That's what we do. And just to see the success of our students is awesome. And what I really like about it is you see that on every one of our campuses. It's not just one campus. It's every campus in our district. And I think that says a lot about our district as a whole. When we say opportunity for all, you can watch that video and you can see it's truly opportunity for all. So that's all I have, Bob.
Thank you, Don. Debbie?
Yes, well, I want to echo Don's statement, or thank yous to Dr. Stewart and to Ife Agumake on the great job that they did with the graduations too. It was definitely a team effort, and really for the students, it wasn't much different than if we'd been inside the Berry Center. It was just a little bit warmer than what we're all accustomed to, but I will tell you that every drop of sweat was well worth it to see our students walk across the stage. It's one of my favorite things about being a board trustee, is to be a part of graduation and to witness the success of our students, and knowing no, I'm getting choked up, Julie. But knowing that they are passing on and that we have prepared them for that next step in life. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to Dr. Henry, his team, because they were bound and determined that our students were going to graduate. And then Dr. Stewart and Beth Wade all came together and made it happen. And I think it is a graduation that those students will always remember. And I also would like to say thank you to Bob Covey. I don't know if you had the opportunity to see the beautiful video that our choir teachers from our middle schools and high schools made in honor of our seniors. But it was played before each graduation. And to see that, the beautiful voices, and I just can't imagine the work that went into that, but Bob underwrote the cost of that, and I'm very thankful you did, Bob. It was a great tribute to our seniors, and I hope going forward that we will continue to use that video for our graduating seniors, because the first time I heard it over on Facebook, I mean, I bawled like a baby. And it was just so beautiful. Also, when you talk about it taking a team, I was so impressed when, I think it was the Cypress-Fairbanks graduation that was delayed for an hour because of rain. I looked out there, there was Teresa Hall and Linda Macias and all of the associate superintendents and the assistant superintendents all out there with the rest of the staff wiping the seats to help make sure our students had dry seats to sit on once graduation started. And to me, that just, I know it's a little thing, but to me it speaks volumes of the teamwork in this school district and how everyone was working towards the goal of our graduates having the best graduation possible. And then finally, I had a text this week from one of the teachers at Danish Elementary, and she is teaching kindergarten ESL in summer school this year, and she was praising the materials that they were using. She was, I think it's Camp Explorer, was their program, and the Schoology platform, is that correct, Dr. Macias? But anyway, she was just saying how thankful she was to work in a school district that provided them with the tools they needed, and she felt like that by teaching summer school, she is going to be so much better prepared for next year using this new platform. So I say kudos also to Dr. Macias and her curriculum team who have worked miracles pulling together something so quick during the school year so the kids could finish, and now they're working on the next school year. So I'm very proud to be part of the school district and to see how we value our students, our faculty, our all of our employees, and together they bring such a great value to not only to this district but to this community.
Thank you. Tom?
I join in my accolades for the district and their employees that my colleagues have mentioned. I'll try and have different comments as opposed to repeating. Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, the Trayvon generation for many families is quite real. The Thomas Mann Institute research tells us this has a negative effect upon academic attainment. And at the end of the day, that is what we're all about. 6 days of graduation that neither rain nor heat nor twin viruses could stop. Special accolades to Dr. Henry for the fortitude to make this happen no matter what. And as others have said, student services led by Deborah and Iffy, and of course, the tremendous help by Beth in making all this come about. This was a graduation for the decade, and I was impressed that our students noted the impact of the twin viruses, respectful but aware. On a side note, prior to the last board meeting, I was counseled that my comments involving counselors and mental health might show the district in a bad light. I'm not certain why being an advocate for these services causes concerns, but as I have for the past 8 years, I will continue to speak in favor of these twin programs that we have, particularly in this day and time. Together, we can make a difference, and this district continues to shine in all areas as being a leader for best practices. Thank you, Bob.
Gilbert?
Yes, so the accolades that everybody has mentioned, I did all those here beyond my expectations this first 7 months here. It's been anything but the norm for me the first 7 months, from actual training and being Don being designated my mentor. He's going to mentor me, you know. And then we had something in Galveston, some training, but everything got shut down one by one. All our training got shut down. So the training I'm getting is now. And I have great trustees with me to show me the way here in administration. I'm so blessed to be in this spot and to learn so much. Going around the district, I drove around Rowe, and Rowe is coming along. It's beautiful. Oh my God! I tried to get my son to move over there, and he wouldn't move over there. And he moved with Pearland, and I'm having a heart attack and stuff. So, but for any young family, young, whatever, it's a perfect area to be moving into our community. And like I called it before, it's a gated community without gates. Our district is. Kudos to the district for holding out for our graduation, because when many others were ready to throw in the towel, and unfortunately I feel bad for them, we had dates. We had tentative dates. We're going to push it back. We're going to push it back. So you guys who may not know, I think we had a tentative date in July too. Wasn't that right? In August too, to get this done. So that shows we're going to persevere through all the obstacles that are thrown in front of us, though. So kudos to everybody who made that happen. Beth, your team is they're so gracious and so nice to us. I felt really embarrassed. I would come home and tell my wife, I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my God. But that was my first graduation. To all the assistants that had had us for that day, had us, meaning the trustees. Karen had us, Linda had us, Roy had us, Roy had us. They kept going back and forth. Deborah, Dr. Bumake, we were treated like, I told Ginger, these people here are just out and beyond that. And like Don said, they were there before us, they were there after us, and it just brings a lot of warmth knowing that the administration is always a step ahead in whatever object it is. Going to graduation, and I shared it with them. I didn't notice it till like the second day. So being a little darker skin here and stuff, I could see the diversity in our district. And then actually walking that, and Dr. Henry, he walks pretty fast. And usually I was last, and I would have that bum hip, and I'm trying to keep up. But I could see the eyes on me. And then I would see Julie in front of me kind of wave at the little ones and stuff, and they would wave. And I would notice the other people of color looking here. So I found it profoundly that, I got to carry on more, And it hit hard. Anyway, so graduation, I'm going through all this, and I see it. Our district is diverse. It is outstanding. Me and Mark are walking out. I said, Mark, how many languages do we have in dialects? Over 100, right? And I saw them. I was like, yeah, they're coming up different steps and right. And Don, he's seeing all their shoes. He's like, those shoes are nice. Those shoes are, oh my, you see those shoes? We're spotting it all. But they have that diverse culture in our district. We are truly a diverse community and stuff. And our district is always there. So, anyways, Bob, go ahead. Thank you, guys. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Gilbert. I'll just also let you know that with the mentorship, we have a counseling program for you, too. I'll just add a little bit. And this is something Dr. Henry had told us before we started our graduations. I think it's of the 25 largest districts in the U.S., only 2 held actual graduations. The rest were not held, and Cyfair was one of the 2. I don't think we ever found out who the other one was, but just to have that. And we're saying the accolades for everybody that did everything, and I know we've got teachers sitting out there, and I know that they're watching, but the teachers are the ones that got the feet on the ground, and they're the ones that should be the most proud of those 8,900 graduates that walked across that stage and got their diplomas. And whatever they're going to do, if they're going to into a career, or if they're going to college, or they're going to military. And I also tell you, that's something that always grabs my heart, is when we recognize, number one, the kids that are first-generation graduates in their families, which is just phenomenal. And number two, if they have now devoted themselves to go into the military and do service. And that, when we have them stand, the pride just overcomes me. And if you haven't had a chance to see the music that Debbie was telling you, I mean, I can't say enough about how it set the tone for every graduation. And it was awesome to have 18 middle schools, 12 high schools, and 64 directors come together in their own individual location, and they put this song together, which was moving and awesome. So if you have a chance, and I'll also tell you, I don't know where the number is now, but at one time we had 180,000 people that had hit and listened to it. We may have all gone over that. I'll also thank Joel Weckerly. Where's Joel? Is he here? Is he in the... Did we not allow him to come in?
Tonight.
He's in the other. So Joel, if you're not here, or if you've already slid out somewhere, just letting you know that slideshow that you did, or the video that you did, was so good. What creativity, and thank you so much for doing that. Great job. Next up is our citizen participation. Patrons who have duly registered per policy BED local may address the board regarding matters of concern or interest to the district other than the character of any student, staff, or board member. The board may not act upon any matter that is not listed under the action item portion of the agenda. And tonight we have 4 people that are doing citizen participation. The first up is Blair. Is it Haney?
Yes.
Okay, Blair. And once again, it's how many minutes? 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
And the
I'm gonna try to do
30-second
this
mark is the
right
yellow.
on 2.
Yes, sir.
My name is Blair Haney, and I am a volunteer and district chair for the Soaring Eagle District. I have been involved with scouting for over 40 years and am a product of this program. I represent this evening the over 5,000 BSA participants and volunteers in the Cyfair ISD. The mission and vision of our 2 organizations align in many ways as we both prepare young people to lead this world for tomorrow. Across the world, Scouts are making a difference every day, especially during this global pandemic. Here in the Cyfair community, Scouts performed nearly 32,000 hours of service last year. Virtually every Scout tells the same story of how they joined Cub Scouts through their elementary school during the school lunch hour. They attend their first meeting with family, friends, join the pack, and soon are meeting in the school cafeteria. There has always been a strong connection between the school and the neighborhood Cub Scout pack. Fully 70% of the Cub Scout packs within your district meet in their elementary schools. This equates to over 2,000 youth. The pandemic has changed much. None of us that we could have envisioned what has taken place, and recognize the future remains uncertain. During these times, we are proud that we were able to move scouting into a virtual platform, much the same as the school district did with their virtual learning this spring. Our program continue to support the teachers by supplementing the learning environment fostered at the school. As the district administrators and ultimately the school board decides on what the upcoming school year will look like for its students, teachers, staff, and entire community, we ask that you consider how your decisions might impact the scouting program that rely on the access to your facilities for meeting places. On behalf of the students and families who participate in scouting, we thank you for your previous support and request your continued support in the upcoming year.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Richard Martin.
Good evening, President Covey, Dr. Henry, members of the board. My name is Richard Martin, and I am the president of Cyfair TSTA NEA. I'm also a district employee. Tonight, I would like to address the change in time limits for the citizens' participation portion of the board meetings. A change was made by the board reducing the time limit for public comments from 3 minutes to 2 minutes per person. 2 minutes is not enough time for the average stakeholder to make their point. 2 minutes is difficult for even those of us versed in public speaking. Neighboring districts such as Alief and Klein allow 5 minutes each. Spring Branch, 4 minutes. Tomball, Spring, HISD, and Katy, 3 minutes. Cyfair has chosen to reduce our time to only 2 minutes. Your stakeholders have supported this board through the last 2 major bond elections. They have placed their trust in you by voting you into office. We are certain you want their voices to be heard. Therefore, we are asking the board to reconsider your position and go back to the 3-minute time limit. This will give your stakeholders enough time to have their voices heard and you the opportunity for a greater understanding of their needs. Thank you for allowing me the time to address you this evening, and thank you for serving our community.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Donna Lord.
Good evening, I'm Donna Lord, and I am the President-elect of Cyfair TSTA NEA. Tonight, we'd like to address issues surrounding the Continuity Committee. It's our understanding that the Continuity Committee is charged with developing plans to address the possible scenarios the district may be required to implement for the coming school year. It is also our understanding that there is no teacher representation on this committee. At the May 14th DEIC meeting, I asked why no teachers were asked to serve on the committee, and that question has gone unanswered. By not having all stakeholders represented on this committee, especially the ones who are going to be responsible for implementing and navigating through whatever decisions are being made, is not only short-sighted, but is also disrespectful to classroom teachers. Classroom teachers currently teaching 21st century children are the ones who bring expertise on what works best for our students. Our thoughts, input, and ideas should be valued. Data shows that when all stakeholders are engaged, there is more buy-in and a greater probability of success. Classroom teachers outnumber all other employees and should account for a majority of participants on any committees affecting instruction and the well-being of our students. It's going to take a 21st century approach to navigate through this crisis. Teachers acknowledge, understand, and accept the new normal that faces us. For any plans in the COVID-19 world to be successful, all voices need to be heard. All stakeholders need seats at the table. We are asking that our classroom teachers be given voices and seats at this table. Thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Lord. Ashley Johnson.
Good evening, President Covey, board members, and Dr. Henry. I'm Ashley Johnson, representing Cyfair TSTA. I'm also a district teacher and a taxpayer. We are understandably concerned about our future working conditions in this COVID-19 world. In roughly 9 weeks, school is scheduled to begin, and we teachers have yet to see any plans regarding what the picture of school will be. How will the district protect the students and us, the staff, when we open our classroom doors in August? Will masks protect us when there are 1,500 or more students in the building? I have over 150 students pass through my classroom on a daily basis. How will disinfecting the classrooms be managed? By whom, how often, and with what accountability? When listening to the school board work session on June 11th, it was stated numerous times that teachers will be encouraged to stay home if we are sick. While this should always be encouraged, the question now presents itself as to how sick days will be handled. May 2020 CDC guidance calls for healthy workplace policies, such as flexible, non-punitive sick time policies, including time to care for sick family members, special policies applicable to high-risk employees, and waiver of requirements to prove illness. What will our options be when our sick days are maximized? The quarantine period, as we all know, is 14 days, while teachers receive 10 paid sick days per year. If a teacher contracts COVID-19, will he or she just be out of luck and have any days beyond the 10 deducted from his or her paycheck? It is easy to say stay home, but workers with no sick days remaining could be faced with a dreadful dilemma that could actually encourage working while sick. We want to hear about plans to protect teachers, not only from COVID-19, but also to protect our salaries so we do not suffer financially. As you might imagine, these concerns loom large for your staff. It goes without saying that this is one of the many reasons why teachers should have a strong voice on the Continuity Committee and several seats at its table. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and I'm telling you it's only 5 minutes, so I'm going to be counting down 5 minutes. And there's restrooms in all directions. Help yourself. So 5 minutes. 45 seconds. Thirty seconds.
29, 28, 27.
Hurry up, Gilbert, I'm behind you.
Trying.
15. The board will now proceed with the public hearing portion of the agenda. The board will hold a public hearing on the adoption of the 2020-2021 budget at 6 p.m. We missed that. On Tuesday, June 16th, 2020. I'm first going to turn it over to the Honorable John Rosenthal. Right there you are. Okay.
Thank you, President Covey. Superintendent Henry, thank you all so much for allowing me to speak again. So I do want to talk just a little bit. I'm not a budget person per se, but I do know that we're heading into a difficult situation. And I recognize that you can't put words on paper and not expect different people to interpret in different ways. So let me be really clear about this. Just like the very first time I stood at this microphone, I am grateful to you. I'm grateful to be in this district. I think this is one of the best run districts in the state easily. I think it's the best district in the whole state. And what makes it great, we've got great top-down leadership, we've got wonderful communities, we've got great teachers. So my letter is just advocating to treat our teachers, our essential workers, all of our education employees as the heroes they are. They stepped up in this time and performed really unbelievably admirably. My niece works in one of the school cafeterias, and she was there every day providing the meals and all that stuff. Still is. So that's what I want to advocate for, making it possible for them to get more of a raise, to have their insurance be stronger so it doesn't take so much out of their pocket. And the purpose of the letter is that I want to partner, I want to help you accomplish this. I'm not, so in the oil, some of you know I come from oil and gas. As a project manager in oil and gas. Worst manager is the seagull manager. It poops all over everything and flies away. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is help you. And I'm so glad for Trustee Heineman pointing out the issues that are coming from the state, the possible reduction, the possible hits on our budget. I'm going to stand for broadening and strengthening our revenue, and also trying to find that an action by the Education Agency Commissioner, that's not going to fly. I'm going to put a serious fire about that. We need to make sure you get the funding that we appropriated for you. So I'm just here for you. I just want you to know I'm extremely grateful, and I will do everything that I can to fight to help you in this next session and in the time before. So thank you for indulging me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Covey, board members. I know you had a very detailed presentation by Karen Smith last Thursday about the budget. Just a few points that I wanted to add, and certainly some of the things that you heard Representative Rosenthal say are encouraging. We know there's people like Representative Rosenthal, Dr. Oliverson, Sam Harless. There's many of our representatives that certainly advocate on behalf of Cy-Fair ISD. But if you went back to like March 3rd, right when we got out for spring break, you can ask Karen and the rest of the cabinet. We were talking about what could we do to improve salaries in Cy-Fair ISD, make sure we had equity adjustments to different classes of our employees. We really wanted to concentrate a great deal on our non-certified employees. We wanted to do more with health insurance, and we were talking about all of those things right up until March 3rd. And then I don't have to tell you what's happened since spring break and what has occurred. And so the real goal changed then from what could we do for our employees, number one, to make sure that they had income security for the rest of this budget year, the 19-20 school year. How could we continue to pay, make sure we didn't furlough anyone, make sure everyone received their full pay that they were due, whether they were at home or on the job. And we were able to do that thanks to this board and their continued support for providing that. And then so our attention turned to the 2021 school year. And as Representative Rosenthal touched on, as Julie touched on, this is going to be a tough year. The bottom line is there are so many uncertainties. We really feel like that we're going to be operating two systems this year. We're going to be operating in person, regular school, and we're going to be providing a virtual environment. And we'll have employees working in both of those environments, and we're going to have students in both of those environments. So you'd say, will that save money? No, it's not going to save money. It's going to cost more just because you're operating two different types of instruction delivery. So we know that this is going to be a tough year with funding, but really this year may not be as tough as 21, 22, and 22, 23, the next biennium, because all you have to do is look at the state sales tax receipts and look at a big source of income in the state of Texas is oil and gas revenue. And you saw that oil was, you had to literally, they had to pay you to take the oil there for a couple of weeks. So you know that's going to have a great effect on our economy. And certainly, again, as Representative Rosenthal stated, there's some ways that the state can lessen that hit to public ed, and I think the state will do everything that they possibly can to do that. But the bottom line is we're at least facing another 1 to 3 years of very, very tough budget years, not just in Cypher ISD. I'm talking about the state of Texas. You go back to 2008 and 2009, and again, Julie touched on it. I think we're looking at something greater than that. So we were looking at ways that how could we, number one, in the 2021 school year, maintain job security for everyone that we have. And if the state doesn't fund a virtual type delivery along with an in-person delivery, that's going to be tough to maintain. But I feel very confident, and although the commissioner didn't come out and say it today, I feel fairly confident in saying they are going to make sure they fund a virtual environment at least for this next year. And I've heard from several of our representatives that they're pushing for that too. So I feel pretty confident about that. But it is going to be a difficult year. And even at that, y'all know the presentation we made to you the other day. I think it was a $45 million budget deficit. Now we've got a healthy fund balance. We've been able to build that up, and we can weather that for 2 or 3 years. And this will be the 4th year in a row we've proposed a deficit budget, but we've never experienced one. This year, there's a very real possibility that we're going to experience a budget deficit, but we're not looking at any layoffs. We're not looking at any elimination of positions. We're not adding many positions this year other than Rowe Middle School, but we are going to, I think in this day and time, and again, Ms. Heineman touched on it, when unemployment could reach 20% in the nation, if it hasn't already, our employees can look forward to income security this year, and that I think is big. Now, I'm still cautiously optimistic that the federal government is going to come through and have some type of stimulus plan for local governments, because if they don't, the estimate is 500,000 teachers will be laid off in the next year. Now, that's not going to happen in Cypher ISD, because this budget ensures that we're going to take care of all of our employees this year. But I say all that to say, 1%'s not a lot, but that is the ninth straight year that this board, if they approve that budget, will have approved a pay raise. When I arrived here, beginning teacher salaries were in the mid 40,000s. Now they're going to be middle to upper 50,000s. So there's been a significant increase in teacher salaries, along with a similar increase to all other positions. And then I know there's a lot of questions about the calendar, and we looked at calendars. And as you know, the commissioner's been making a real push to go to year-round school. We did not think the year-round school idea was good for our students. We didn't think it was good for our parents, and we didn't think it was good for our employees. There are some school districts that will be starting August 3rd, and their last day of school is the middle of June. And during that time, there's as much as 3 and 4 week periods where they'll be off, I guess trying to guess when COVID-19 might shut schools down. So we opted to keep our calendar the same, and yes, we did add some time to the school day to build us up a little cushion of 8 days in case we have to let school out. It's our goal that, Linda, I can't remember now, May 25th, May 26th, I think is our last scheduled day. It's our goal that teachers will, and employees, that'll be the last day of their contract. I can't remember that exact day. So that's why we went that route, and I can't remember which board member said it, and I know it's not ideal for everyone, but we thought that was a good way to approach this situation, so that we really do think that the camps and the opportunities available for our students in the summer are important. So we wanted to protect at least a couple of summer months, and we think that's what this calendar does. So maybe that's wrong reasoning, but that's what we were looking at through that. So I just want the teachers and employees to know how much we admire and how much we appreciate and how much we respect you. And as I said, in my 9 years here, we've always tried to at least provide some pay increase so that our teachers know and our employees know that we appreciate them. It's never enough, but under the circumstances, I think there's a lot to be said for job security, and you do have that approaching this school year. So those are just my comments related to the hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. Karen, do you have anything you want to add? Are you up?
No.
Nope. This is only for questions. Any questions that the board might have? Starting with Tom.
Karen, we talked about this at the last board meeting, at the work session, but I'd like for you to review a couple of the numbers that we talked about. What is the percentage raise that's being presented? What is the effective percentage raise? What is the forecasted by the FOMC or another authoritative body for the inflation rate? What is the new dollar contribution for insurance? And then what changes individually are we making for insurance, say on the family plan?
First of all, the proposal is to take the one-time payment that was received in 1920 and roll it into base salary, so that employees are guaranteed that they'll get that money and not it be a one-time payment. In addition to that, by rolling the one-time payment into base salary, then the raise is based on that. If you compare, once you roll the one-time payment in and do the salary increase to last year's base salary, we have the raises range between about 3% and 2.15%, for an average of about 2.5%. But that's taking into account putting the one-time payment in there permanently and then doing the 1% raise. And I'm talking teachers right now when you're asking that particular question, because the one-time payment was $1,000 for all teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses. Then as far as inflation is concerned, is there's, I mentioned the 3% for next year. However, recent projections have come out showing it lower than that. This year, they're saying, it could range as low as 2% or maybe go under 2%. Next year, they're estimating somewhere in the 2% range, give or take. But all of it's going to depend on how quickly we recover, if we have another close down, oil and gas, and all of that. So it's all contingent on those different variables. I think the other question you asked me about was health insurance and how that looks as far as the family plan and some of the other plans. The good part is we worked very closely, school districts worked very closely with TRS this last year in looking at those plans. They did go out for bid and they changed the provider and they listened to employees in school districts about their concerns. The biggest concern was the employee family that was expressed because that premium was so high. So for the high deductible plan, the employee only went up $19 a month, but employee children and employee children and employee family went down. Those premiums went down. In addition, the select plan, which is the new select plan, and then they have an alternate plan similar to that select plan with just a little bit fewer providers available, those premiums went down. So the only plan that really had dramatic increases was Active Care 2. And as I've mentioned before, that's been something intentional because TRS is trying to push people to the other plans. Did I catch all your questions that you had?
Well, I only hit you with about 11 or 12 at one time. What is the gross dollar amount of additional payments we have to make for insurance?
Well,
that was a specific line item on the budget as an additional amount that was going to have to be paid for insurance.
Oh, well, what that includes, that's actually several items, if that's what you're looking at. If you're looking at the I believe it's 11.6 million, if I remember correctly. Let me verify that.
That's my recollection.
That includes a few new middle school teachers. It includes paraprofessionals. It includes our increased contribution because of new employees. It also includes TRS on behalf is going up that rate. Let's see, I'm trying to think if that's all that was in that. And those are the main things that were in that number. So it's a mixture of several its that is in that number of 11.6 million.
But that represents an increased contribution?
It is not an increased contribution. It's a contribution towards the employees that are being added.
So it's an increased cost?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So to summarize, the pay raises on average, you said it was about 2.5.
Yes, if you take the 1,000, yes, sir.
The CPI inflation rate has now been dropped to about 1.9, maybe a little lower, for the coming year. So it appears as if the proposed raise that you're presenting will be greater than inflation, and it also appears that it should be greater than any insurance increases as well. Is that a good summary?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Thank you, Karen.
Jim? Debbie? Don? John?
Karen, just to make things plain, last year when the state, the $1,000 came from the state, is that right?
No.
It came from us?
Came from us.
Okay.
The last year the requirement was anytime the basic allotment increases, 30% of that has to go towards raises, of which 75% of it had to go to teachers, counselors, nurses, and librarians. And we gave about $22 million more than the required raise last year.
So you're saying the $1,000 this year is what? If it didn't come from, say, we're just keeping that as a part of the teacher's salary?
Right. Rather than it being a one-time payment, we're now rolling it into base salary.
So the $1,000 last year we did not have to continue that as a part of their salary this year.
Correct.
But we are doing that and making
And rolling
that-
it into
and rolling
base
it
so
in.
it's guaranteed, because
We're-
that's a one-time payment is not, but
We're
if it's
making
in
it
base.
permanent, Dr. O.
Permanent, okay.
Making
It can't be,
permanent.
the one time could have been taken away, but making it permanent gives them contractual, it's a contractual obligation for us.
That's good.
Anything else? Don?
Karen, I remember when we, since it's part of the topic and Tom touched on it some, when we went to TRS was when our feet were to the fire.
Yes, sir.
Because our self-funded account was getting blasted by a local provider. So my understanding with TRS is legally, Marty, and you might have to jump in here as well, we can't go out for bid.
Well, unless, okay, if we are not a DOI, then we can't do anything. We did look at options with the DOI, but there's only a couple districts out there, and you cannot get rid of the plan. You can only bring in a competitive plan. And we were being told that the legislature is going to look at actually removing that option. It's highly possible because they were concerned about, anything going away. I don't know what will happen, but it's just been talk. And so we wanted to wait and see what would happen first with all of that and see. And then we kind of looked to see what the market was. And I will tell you, it was the same as TRS at this point in time. That's what we were seeing.
Well, and that's what I was going to bring up next, and I think you're going to see some increases in it too when you look at, we've talked about other areas where you have the fallout from COVID-19. Mm-hmm. One area that's going to have a massive fallout and a huge financial impact is going to be the healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. And so while those rates aren't good, they're very similar to what many of us are paying on our own plans right now with a high deductible plan. And then one thing that I brought up last week that I want to bring up again is obviously everyone on this board is pro-education, would love to give, and Dr. Henry has said it, additional raises. But I think one reality that we're dealing with, and we're not in education, but I see it in my neighbors. I see it across many of the communities. I've seen numbers between from April to May, where just in our community we had 250,000 layoffs. The Texas Workforce Commission has had the highest number of people apply for unemployment than they've ever had. And so it's hitting our families. I had a gentleman call me today for insurance who was laid off from the outlet mall and was grateful that his wife still had a job with Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. She's a teacher in the district. So would we like to do more? And we hear your voices. Would we like to do more of a raise? I can't speak for everybody, but most of them are probably nodding their head. But we also have to be financially prudent with the money that we've been entrusted with. And I think this board has consistently, since I've served on the board, has consistently been financially prudent with our money and with our funds that we're entrusted with. So I am extremely grateful, Mark. I can tell you that we aren't going to have layoffs. And I'm sure there are some districts across the state that will be having layoffs because they haven't planned as well financially as Cypress ISD has across the board, and I'm really grateful for that because I've seen, and John has and Bob has, I think it was in the early 2000s where we couldn't give raises because of the recession. And so, I just wanted to share those thoughts since some things were shared tonight and kind of let you know where I stand personally, and then everyone else can comment however they want.
Thank you, Don. Julie, you have anything? You're okay? Are we all okay? Gilbert?
I want to echo Don's sentiments exactly. It's a difficult situation we're in. I personally have been in their footsteps, where when I was working at that time, same thing. Yeah, I'm more worried about keeping my job, and then fortunate enough to come home and say, I got it. And we worried too, me and my wife. My son's a teacher, and he was worried too about was he going to keep his job and stuff. And when the news came out that he was, we were relieved and stuff. So Don said it well, and it doesn't mean that we don't care. I'd give you everything I had if I could, and I'm sure the board members could too, though. But it's going to be a little trying times the next year or two, and hopefully we can get through it together and stuff without having to go through what y'all went through in 2008 and stuff. So Don, very well said. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
The board will now proceed with the reports portion of the agenda. The administration will present an updated oral report on the district's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the administration.
Mr. Covey, I'm going to start it off and then turn it over to some of our other staff members. It was really, Representative Rosenthal, you'll appreciate this. It was an interesting day because I had elected officials keep calling me all day. It was really, in fact, you're the third one I've talked to today. They kept calling me all day and with information that they feel pretty good about funding for this next year related to in-person and virtual, which was, in all honesty, we haven't been able to proceed forward with making a plan, and we still can't because we don't have official word yet of how we're going to be funded. That's the one big question we're waiting on, and once we have that answered, which we were told we would have it today, but then it was backed up because we'd asked y'all to talk today, but the commissioner did have a meeting today, but he did not address funding. But Teresa, I think you said Thursday? Next Tuesday. So it'll be next Tuesday now. So they keep backing it up, but I know why they're backing it up, because they've got to get all their eggs in a row, and they've got to get everything figured out. But that is holding us up from moving forward. And I know there's a lot of questions, not only among employees, but families, of what we're going to do next year. And as soon as we have that one answer, we're going to be able to really start formulating and putting a plan together. So again, I feel much better tonight than I did last night about the direction I think the state is heading. I think they are going to, the state is going to make sure, at least for the 2021 school year, that students or parents that choose to keep their students in a virtual environment, we are going to be able to receive funding for that. But I'm telling you, fingers crossed, what I think based on conversations I had today. So I'm at least encouraged today, where yesterday I was totally in the dark. But we are moving forward. Getting ready to start, trying to get safety protocols in place, and we wanted to bring you up to date on a few other areas tonight that we have not touched on in the past. So we're going to start this off with our Director of Community Programs, Irene Ruiz. Irene.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Covey, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Henry. We are happy to share information with you regarding the opening of Club Rewind Summer Camp and Summer ELC with enhanced protocols due to COVID-19 guidelines. I'd like to start with a reminder that in addition to CDC guidelines and Governor Abbott's guidelines for reopening Texas, our summer programs are licensed child care programs, which means that we must also adhere to any additional requirements that the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services outlines for licensed child care operations. As a result, we have made significant changes to our summer program so we can continue to provide a safe, fun, and engaging environment for our children over the summer. We have 2 summer camp locations, one at Arnold Middle School and the other at Matsky Elementary School, serving children in our community from kindergarten through 8th grade. This year, Summer ELC operates at ELC 2 providing care for CFISD employees with children ages 1 to 4 years old. In preparation for summer camp and summer ELC, we took various measures as we geared up for our summer programs. CFISD nurses were hired to remain on site to conduct health screenings and to monitor staff and children for any COVID-19 related symptoms throughout the day. Priority registration was implemented for CFISD staff to ensure any CFISD employees working in summer positions have access to childcare. Summer ELC was located from Telge ELC to ELC 2, which is a larger center, in order to allow for more social distancing within the program. Temporary gym floors were installed at Arnold and Matsky to allow for frequent sanitizing and to protect the permanent gym floors at each location. Additional staff development was provided to ensure staff members are equipped with the information needed to provide a safe environment and to meet the needs of our children. Additional topics covered included proper sanitizing, hand washing techniques, social distancing while working with children, and mental health. To practice social distancing and provide a safe environment for all, the following operational protocols have been implemented for summer camp and summer ELC programs. As I previously mentioned, some of these protocols ensure compliance with child care licensing updates. Curbside drop-off and pickup of students has been implemented at each site, and health screenings with temperature checks are conducted during the drop-off process by the nurse on site. We have restricted entry to each site, and a no visitor policy has been implemented to minimize the number of individuals on site. Group sizes are significantly smaller to allow for proper social distancing within each group. Staff members and students remain in the same group to minimize the mixing of individuals between the groups. Implementation of activities that minimize contact between students, and this has probably been the most challenging part because so many of our activities have been surrounded with close contact and collaboration between students and staff members. But our team did a phenomenal job of rising to the occasion to create those activities for our children. Just like our staff received training on social distancing and proper hand washing, we also implemented lessons for children to learn about social distancing and proper hand washing. Individual supply kits are used by students to minimize the sharing of materials. Students may either bring their own supplies from home, or parents may purchase a set of supplies offered by the program. Separation of desks and tables by at least 6 feet were arranged to create social distancing within the classrooms. And social distancing with hallway traffic has also been implemented with one-way hallway traffic wherever possible. And children follow social distancing while walking in the hall with their group. As you can see in the picture here at Matsky Elementary, they are spaced apart as they're walking down the stairs. The summer camp site serves grab-and-go meals, which allow students to pick up their breakfast or lunch, and they take those to their classrooms and eat them there. For any common or shared areas, such as the gym or the computer lab, staff members utilize sanitizing spray on areas and equipment before and after student use. Deep disinfecting of restrooms is conducted by custodial staff throughout the day to ensure those high-touch surfaces are clean and safe for our students. This process has certainly been a team effort, and we would like to thank several departments and individuals for their support throughout this process. The operations department provided supplies, training, and installed temporary floors in the gym so that we could frequently sanitize them. Health services assisted us with staffing nurses and provided input on health practices throughout the program. Nutrition services for providing grab-and-go breakfast and lunch for summer camp students. The guidance and counseling department came in and provided training on mental health for our staff members, as we know that a lot of our students may struggle with coming back to an environment surrounded with children and staff. Curriculum and instruction for providing the information needed to support students who may need to complete summer school assignments during their attendance at summer camp. Jody White, the principal at Arnold, and Kathy Jacobs, the principal at Maskey, for collaborating with us as we work to provide a safe environment for students as we host these programs at their campuses. And of course, our phenomenal district leadership team who have been leading us and guiding us through these uncharted waters. We certainly appreciate all the guidance and support that we've received from everyone, because it truly has been a team effort here. Although the planning process has been challenging during these unprecedented times, it has been well worth it and rewarding to see smiling students back on our campuses this summer. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
We're going to wait till the end, if that's all right with trustees.
So you can't go home, you gotta wait.
Yeah, you got to stay. Okay. I think next up is our athletic director, Mr. Ray Zapata.
I'm awful. This is the first time I think I've actually had to raise a mic as I'm talking.
Yeah.
So thank you, Irene. Super excited to be here to present to you guys tonight on behalf of our coaching staff and athletic administrative staff. We started summer strength and conditioning activities last week on Monday, June the 8th, and a lot of people have asked me how's it all going, and I have told people it was probably one of the most rewarding weeks that I've had to see 3,500 now kids come back to school and interact with coaches, teachers, athletic trainers, but it's also a very challenging time, and Irene alluded to some of that. I'm going to kind of explain to you, we have two different types of activity that's occurring on campus each day. We have what we would call SAC, which stands for Strength and Conditioning, which is just general weightlifting, physical training that would prepare you to be a better athlete no matter what your sport would be. We're also offering sport-specific instruction, or SSI, and those are typically going to be under the direction of our head coaches. And so in a normal time, I don't know if we can even talk about normal times, you were limited to about an hour or two of SSI a week. The state has now given us much more time to work with the kids, given all the time that we lost. When I submitted this slide, we had 3,000 athletes that had reported the first few days, and that's up to about 3,500 kids between our 12 campuses. When the UIL rolled out their plan, we tried to organize our plan around the following principles. Number one, screening procedures. We knew that was going to be important. When you bring this many kids back, we wanted to do so in a safe way. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the screening procedures because I think that's very important that you understand what we're doing each day on campus. You also had to think a lot about the access and exit from our buildings. On a typical summer, you're going to see a lot of mixing of kids as we change from one session to the next, and trying to plan for that to make sure even physically that there was some separation as parents were dropping their students off and maybe picking them up from one session to the other was important. Hygiene is super important. While Irene is tasked with maybe even spending time with the little ones and teaching them how to wash their hands, sometimes you have to do that with high school students and even coaches. So our people have gotten very used to us explaining to them how to wash their hands, and we have plenty of hand sanitizer out and available. The UIL instituted strict cleaning and sanitation protocols, both for inside and outside. Those are different. For the sanitization of balls, even weight equipment, etc. Probably the most challenging thing that we've had, and I stayed for a lot of the graduations, and I watched the kids walk in, and the way that they walked in was a little bit different than the way that they walked out. And so trying to limit their personal interaction can be very challenging. And I think our coaches have gotten very good at saying, hey, spread apart, stay away, and trying to explain what 6 feet is and what 10 feet is. And then I think more important than anything else was just creating a climate of adherence to our plan with our coaches, that we were going to pay attention to detail and execute the plan that we thought was well thought out. I would say, and Irene ended her presentation somewhat with this, and I want to kind of, at the front end of mine, point this out, that over the last few weeks that we've had to lean on many of the departments within this great school district to help us. I mean, there's no way that we could have executed this plan on our own. The operations department has been just unbelievable. Not only have they physically provided us with, at one time, I asked Tammy Blankenship, I said, Tammy, I'm going to need 600 spray bottles and about 250 hand sanitization units. And the next day, they were on campus. I thought this is an outrageous amount of materials that I'm asking for, and it was just done. She's also, in addition to providing the physical tools that we need to clean and to sanitize equipment, she actually is providing full-time staff members to be there with us, so that as coaches are instructing kids, there are janitors in the premises that are actually cleaning as the kids are working out. They also have been providing nightly and weekly deep cleaning protocols, and you might have seen some of that on social media, where all of our areas are being fogged and disinfected. The communications team and Leslie have been outstanding in helping us get the word out to our parents. We had a lot of parents that are scared. They continue to be scared about the environment, and trying to help them to understand what we're doing to protect their children, I think was important, and Leslie and her team helped us a great deal with that. Christiana Bernal and the health services team have just been great for us. I think I've talked to her every single day over the past 9 or 10 days. Including on Saturday or Sunday when I called her when she was at the beach. She's been available to us to answer a lot of the what-if questions that we have, as we've now have brought back 3,500 kids as they're interacting with the community. And then the facilities department, we're expected to follow strict guidelines as far as how many people we can have in an interior environment. This first couple of weeks, it was 25% of our capacity. And again, Matt Morgan and his team quickly got us all the square footages we needed in the code to figure out what does 25% look like given these areas that we're going to be working out in. So when you really look at the depth and breadth of what it took to put this on, it made me really feel good that I'm a part of a true team here in Cypher ISD that does what's best for students. We felt that educating our coaches and our students were going to be super important as we ramped up to do this. We took a week to train our coaches up and our athletic trainers. We utilized a lot of different modalities, had a lot of Zoom meetings. I know that you guys are very used to that. That's become the new normal for us. You can see some pictures here where we actually had to go out and show coaches, what is this distancing? What does 10 feet look like? What does 6 feet look like? How are we going to do this? How do we move kids from one place to another? All of that had to be coached, and we had somewhat taken some of that for granted. Our very first day on the 8th was not a regular day of training. We used it as a day to educate our athletes. We took them through all the guidelines. We walked them through it, and with the expectation that if we couldn't execute it on the 8th in a walkthrough setting, that we were going to have to do it again on the 9th. That education and orientation for us was very important, and I think maybe many of you also saw that messaging to our students and teaching them before they even got to campus was exceedingly important. So we used the week before the kids came back as a way of pre-messaging them, and we sent out a lot of messages. We wanted to show them what it was going to look like when they came back, what were important protocols, and I don't know if you even are aware of this, but we're not even allowed to give the kids water right now. So trying to make sure in the Houston heat that they bring enough water and that they're prepared is important. And then trying to educate them on what those screening questions were going to be before they ever step foot on campus was exceedingly important. And that helped us to catch some problems before kids came to campus. I mentioned to you a second ago that I wanted to spend just a brief minute on our screening processes. Staff members are screening before they get to campus each day. They're required to take their temperature, they have to answer a number of questions, and they have to get clear to come to campus before they ever get to campus. When a staff member arrives, their temperature is checked by an athletic trainer, and that temperature is logged. The students are actually filling out a questionnaire every single day. They're screened every day when they show up to campus. There's a QR code, and you can see in this picture those QR codes are spaced out on the wall. They use their cell phones. Most kids have those cell phones with them. They punch in the QR code, and it punches up the screening questions. We have a staff member at each site that's monitoring the data as that comes in, and it's color-coded. I'm not always the smartest guy, and I felt like I needed to have something that would be color-coded, and you can kind of see in the example on the top right that if there's something that should draw your attention to it, it turns red. If someone was to answer a question that turns red, immediately a staff member is going to go talk to that young person and find out what's going on with them. The screening protocol has been awesome. We can monitor what's going on the campuses as the screening data is coming in live. So it's been great to see. It also is time-stamped, so we have an accurate understanding of who's on campus each day. Finally, I mentioned the social distancing has been tough for us, but I think that our kids are getting used to it from the second that they step onto campus and they go through their screening, as you can see there on the left, or that they go through a workout on the right. They have to stay 6 feet apart if they're getting any type of instruction, or 10 feet apart if they're actually taking a working rep. I think that they all pretty much understand that. The challenge that we've somewhat had is the transitions from one group to the next. Finally, again, I mentioned about the sanitization protocols. If they're inside, if you can imagine this, between every single person, every time they touch a bar or touch a weight, those weights have to be cleaned before another student gets into to lift that same weight. So again, very vigorous sanitization protocols. I did want to just mention to you guys publicly that we've had a lot of questions. We felt like it was very important that we walk before we run. And we were concerned about our ability to handle the numbers of students that we typically have each summer. We wanted to expand opportunities as much as we can, but we wanted to have a safe environment. So we started off with just high school students, ninth grade through 12th grade, and tried to make sure that we can accommodate them. I think what we've learned after a couple of weeks of executing this is that there's going to have to be some relaxation in the overall 6-foot, 10-foot social distancing requirements before we would be able to safely bring middle school students on campus. And that's something that we regret, but again, I think in the name of providing a safe environment for all, it could be necessary in certain campuses to be there literally, up from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, running programs continuously to try to accommodate some of the numbers that we sometimes have. We're hopeful that as regulations change, that we'll be able to possibly add middle school students at some point, but right now that's just simply not a possibility. I had a lot of questions from parents about what do we do? What do we do if we have a student that tests positive? How do we handle that? What do we do if someone has had direct contact with a family member or a friend that has been confirmed positive? How do we handle secondary contacts? You can kind of see in the presentation the protocols that are in place. They're mandated. Our athletic trainers are involved with that. Our health services department, as I mentioned earlier, has been very involved with that in communication. I would say that that's one thing that I've learned. I mean, we have to answer these questions every single day, and we have to be prepared. At this time, I feel like our plan is working very, very well, but we also know that our school district is not immune from the virus that's out there. And so we've had to answer COVID-related questions as we've moved forward. Again, thank you for your leadership, Mr. Covey, the board, Dr. Henry. Again, we could not have done this without the support and really the environment that you create for us. We feel like we've had a good week and a half, and we're excited about the future this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Next up, we have Fine Arts Director Mary Running.
Good evening, Mr. Covey and Board of Trustees and Dr. Henry. I'm pleased to present our plan for our fine arts students returning to rehearsal. Last week, TEA released new guidelines that allows all activities with fall competitions to return to practice. The initial guidelines were only for marching band, but now all of our students who will be competing in the fall can start rehearsing. Many of the band and dance teams are going to start with their small camps that they traditionally hold at this time of year and in July, things like leadership camps and officer camps and guard camps and percussion camps. They will transition to their usual full rehearsals at the end of July. Just to let you know, UIL limits the amount of time that marching bands can spend on fundamentals prior to August the 1st. So our teachers only have 10 hours of fundamental practice that they can do prior to August the 1st. So many of them are going to wait and do that the last week in July, because that just kind of starts the season rolling. Other activities like choir and orchestra will begin teaching the all-state music soon, and that will allow those students to compete more effectively in the fall. We have a very detailed plan that we have put together with the help of many departments and my staff and my directors that includes a lot of different things. One of the big things is teacher education. So we have a 2-hour online module that our teachers are going to complete that teaches them about infection control, proper hygiene, as well as reviewing the guidelines that TEA and UIL has set out for our teachers. Each student is also going to complete a short online training module prior to attending rehearsal that addresses hand washing, face masks, social distancing, and rehearsal guidelines. Many of the things that they often do at rehearsal, they can no longer do, so we've covered each of those things so that they learn new behaviors. Parents are also invited to do these online training modules along with their students. We have developed detailed checklists for our campuses so that they know how to prepare for camp and to assure that all the procedures are being followed on a daily basis. My staff will be visiting campuses prior to camp starting, and then we'll also be visiting when students are actually on campus so that they can assure that all of the procedures are being followed. Just like our other activities, we have daily procedures that we will be doing, and these are required by UIL and TEA, but also good practices to keep everyone safe. Staff and students will complete health screening forms daily. Temperatures will be taken when students arrive, and that will be recorded on the health questionnaire. We will have staff members that are specifically assigned to monitor the health information and to follow up with parents should we need to. And as part of our daily instruction, we will go over health and hygiene protocols for the students and remind them on a daily basis the appropriate way to wash your hands, wear your mask, and to social distance. TEA and UIL has developed specific social distancing guidelines for when students march, move, sing, or play an instrument. At all times, we will follow the 6-foot social distancing guidelines that we are all following. And when we're not rehearsing or eating, because a lot of our camps are day-long camps, everyone will be asked to wear a mask. Once a student starts marching or singing or playing an instrument, then they will need to be at a 10-foot distance from each other. Outside, we are going to ask our bands to maintain what we call a 6-step interval. So if you've been in marching band, you know that you learn to march 8 to 5. And so 6 steps is an interval that all the students will know and will be used to, and that will keep them a little greater than 10 feet apart. And we think that that's something that we can get students to understand, and then they can say, oh, I need to be 6 steps from that student, and then I will be far enough away. Inside, we're going to mark 10 by 10 rehearsal blocks in our rooms so that they know that I will stand on this spot when I play my instrument, and that will be 10 feet from my neighbor. They are asking that we keep our room capacities at 50% or less. So we have gathered all of the data thanks to the facilities department, and we have figured out what the maximum number of students can be in any of our classrooms. And what this is going to necessitate is that our students are broken up into different classrooms when they come to school. Each school will receive a chart, and that will tell them what the maximum number of students in a space can be, and then students will be assigned a specific door to enter through and a specific room in which to keep their belongings and to rehearse for that day when we are inside. A big thank you to all of our different departments that have helped us put this plan together, and we're excited to get started educating our teachers and our students, and we'll be very glad to hear some music in our classroom soon. So thank you very much.
Then our last presenter will have a very brief presentation from Dr. Linda Macias.
Thank you, Linda. You can sit down.
Thank you. I know. I want to give you just a quick update on summer school. I talked to you a little bit about it on on Thursday. So just a quick update on that. As I shared with you last Thursday, we are excited that we have a little over 37,500 students involved in summer school. And traditionally, on a given year, we have between 8,000, 8,500, maybe 9,000 students that we have involved in summer school. I've shared that we are offering our traditional programs that we typically offer in elementary as well as secondary, but I wanted to highlight a couple of the new programs that we are offering where we've got more kids participating. We added the 3 to 5 Camp Triumph, and this is for kids who are reading below grade level. You all know about Camp Summit for our pre-K students. And then we added, and the 3 to 5 Camp Summit is through Schoology. And so there is a teacher that's teaching the entire time that the summer school is happening. And then we added a pre-K through 5th grade Camp Elevate. This is all virtual, 100% virtual. And we wondered how many parents would sign up their students for Camp Elevate, and we had over 20,000 students registered for Camp Elevate. As I said, it's all virtual. However, every student is assigned a teacher, and it's more of a hotline number. So we've got 8 hotline teachers, for a better way of saying it. And so students can call this hotline, and a live teacher will answer and will provide them with any support that they may need regarding the content that they're learning. At secondary, again, our regular programs, including algebra camp and original credit, and students who have to make up different courses. But new is the reading and math enrichment at both middle and high school. And with this program, we've invited students who had an average between a 70 and a 74 in reading and math to join us for summer school. We also added a virtual scholars program, and we'll be able to do this in the summer and also provide it in the fall as well in a virtual manner. And then we also added a CTE certification, hands-on demonstration type program that will allow them to test. They're close to testing, they just needed more contact hours to be able to do the testing. So we have about 200 students that are involved in that. And so we're excited about summer school. We also plan to continue with this next year because we know that we need to continue addressing not just the summer gap, but the gaps that were created as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We will be transitioning a little into face-to-face summer school in July. July 6th actually will be the first day of our face-to-face summer school. I will share with you that at the elementary level, we asked parents if they would be comfortable with attending face-to-face summer school, and teachers as well. We had about 40% who said that they would be comfortable. And so we've been calling and making sure that they'll be attending our summer school. We were estimating, based on the calls and the responses from parents, that we would have probably around 2,100 students in our face-to-face summer school. And we really wanted to be able to implement the different guidelines that TA has set for us regarding safety and healthy type procedures. As we've been calling parents, we're having more parents who are sharing with us that they're not as comfortable as they thought they were going to be with attending the face-to-face summer school. At elementary, about half now have said that they're not comfortable. We think that's probably going to go up a little bit, and about half of the teachers who had said that they were comfortable with teaching have also expressed some concerns as well. We will have 10 students to a teacher in summer school in our programs. They will be provided breakfast and lunch through our summer feeding schools. That's where we have our summer school sites. Transportation will continue to be provided for all elementary students and algebra camp. And then we will also, we must follow the TA guidelines that TA has set for any summer school that districts choose to provide. And I wanted to just give you a little highlight about some of those guidance that we're going to be implementing. You've heard quite a few of them with the previous presenters, but they certainly have provided an intensive guidance plan for us to follow in order to provide face-to-face summer school instruction. I'm going to highlight just a few. Certainly, strict guidance has been given regarding health services, including COVID-19 screening of staff, teachers, students, and daily temperature check as well before entering the school building. Masks and/or face shields are strongly recommended for all adults, and they are suggested for certain groups of kids if it's appropriate based on the student's age. We are required to have an isolation room that is identified in case there are any students or staff members who begin to show symptoms of the virus. There's a lot of guidance regarding preparing the school building. You've heard about the disinfecting all of the interior surfaces, identifying those high-touch areas, and making sure that we're providing additional opportunities for cleaning and disinfecting. Making sure that we identify the restricted areas, such as the water fountains that kids are used to going to, making sure all that is covered. We have to make sure that we're ensuring that classrooms and cafeterias, hallways, restrooms, bus and car rider lines allow for social distancing and that they're marked at least 6 feet between every person, and between actual classes, if they're in a group or in an area, more than one class in an area, they need to at least be 12 feet between each class or group. Hand sanitizers or washing areas are required at all entrances. And we also have to schedule twice a day a time for students to have supervised hand washing and making sure that they're doing the 20 minutes appropriate hand washing routine. So 2 times. 20 seconds. I said 20 minutes earlier as well, and my team corrected me. 20 seconds. Thank you, Teresa. 20 seconds. We also are having, they're going to be very clean. We're also having to identify entry and exit locations, actually assigning students. You're going to come in this door and you're going to leave through this door for students and staff as well, and keeping those doors propped. We've got to provide water bottles for our students, and we have to provide, we're providing as much as possible any supplies that they might need, either personal supplies, pens, pencils, manipulatives, and books, so that they're not having to share any of that. And then there's also restrictions and guidelines regarding to nutrition. The recommendation is that we do grab-and-go breakfast and lunch. That's a preference. Again, social distancing practices are in place there. That we have different or increase the number of kiosks that we have for students to get their grab-and-go breakfast, and that those kiosks be sanitized after each class goes through. No visitors will be allowed for lunch during summer school. And then transportation also practices are in the guidance. Again, social distancing for your students on the bus, hand sanitizers. So the safety processes and guidelines that we will be following for summer school need to be also posted. So those will be available as well. I just want to give a shout out to the transportation department, food service, Tammy Blankenship and her group. They've walked the schools with us. Dr. Tanya Gori, who serves on the district reopening committee, has been leading the charge for our summer school health and safety processes, and making sure that whatever the state has mandated, that we're able to have systems in place to be able to follow those. So it's been a team effort, a village, to be able to provide summer school on July 6th for students. I wanted to give you a quick update on our uncontactable students. You might recall last month, we shared with you that we had about 644 students that were uncontactable, but we were still doing work, and it's been a team effort with that as well. Dr. Stewart's team, Dr. Ashley Claiborne and Paula Ross's team, Roy Garcia's team, we've all worked together to try to find our students. And so the number I have here for you on this slide are students who were not contacted, could not be contacted, both in April and in May, because the state actually gave us 2 different time frames to collect information. And I'm not happy to report, because I don't think I want to find every single student, but we were able to get that number now down to 89 students in the district that we did not have any contact at all during this entire pandemic that caused the school closure. So that is my report.
Thank you. Board, do you want to have questions for any of the 4 presenters? Julie, I'll start with you.
Linda, well, since you're right there, I'll ask you real quick. For summer school, any plans for special education students?
Absolutely. The number that I had out there includes special education students, and we also will be having testing. One side where we will be doing some testing for our students.
For services, for
Yes.
special education services?
Yes.
Okay. Any thoughts on our pre-Kers, bringing them in early, or I don't know, like starting that training process with them, getting them, I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say?
As far as, well, we have our Camp Summit, which does include
Pre-K.
some of our, really it's more kinder, students who are, or have transitioned to kindergarten.
Okay.
So it's kinder,
So no
K
okay.
1 and 2 is our kids that we have, in summer school.
But no pre-K?
We don't have a pre-K program except for a bilingual, but even those kiddos have transitioned from pre-K to K.
To K, okay. That was my only question for you. My only other comment is, as Ray was talking about the athletes and the training that they're going through and the process, I feel like there's a large number of students who are going to be role models for their peers when we come back to school in the fall, because they're going to be used to some of the standards and procedures that we may be implementing on a wider scale. So hopefully we can use those.
I certainly hope so.
Right? Ambassadors.
More ways than one.
Right, for sure. So, thank you. That's it, Bob.
Okay. John, do you have anything?
Just a good report, and just I was thinking about just all the procedures, all the protocols, and just wondering what is it going to be like even in the fall, and how they still may be here, all these protocols. A good report.
Don, do you have anything?
No, I'm just grateful for all the work that everyone's done so our students can actually begin participating in those extracurricular activities, because we know that's a huge part of their development. And I'm pumped for football season, so I can't. Well, the marching band's part of the football game, so.
Football game's part of the marching band.
No, that's it's a matter of opinion. I'll move on. Bob, anybody else?
Well, it is at Texas State. There is a football game before and after halftime. Just saying. Debbie, do you have anything? That's what I meant.
I guess this is for Mary. I heard you mention something about in the fine arts, and particularly the choir and band, that masks would be required. Have we thought about how we may handle situations if a student refuses to wear a mask?
We're going to follow the same guidelines that they're following with summer school, and so we're going
Okay.
to request that students wear a mask.
Just request.
When they are, we're going to
Okay.
strongly encourage
Okay.
them to wear their masks when they're not actually performing, playing,
Right.
such as that.
Okay. Thank you. And then, Linda, I just want to say, and to Deborah, thank you so much for all your hard work on trying to reach these students, because that's been a concern of mine since day one about the number of students. And I think we've gone from, 600 and something down to 89, and that is remarkable work. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Mr. Jackson.
As always, a very strong report, but what is evidenced is the incredible work and thought and planning that each of the different areas had to develop to be able to get us to this point. I know that when the fall comes, there's even more work. But I'm appreciative, and Mark, this starts with you at the top, but that we are starting summer school in person. We have to do it. We have to see what the hiccups are. There will be hiccups. I'm glad that we brought fine arts back, particularly choir and band. I think we have even more risk than we do in athletics, but we have to do it. We have to see what happens. We have to proceed. Linda, a question for you. Since we know that in some fashion the online learning will continue in the fall, have we been able to develop any better understanding, either quantitative or qualitative, with how engaged our students are as they're going through the online learning process? That's the first part. And then the second part, in the conversation with the commissioner, he made a point that free of charge, there are tests for the students that will not count against them or the school district. And I guess they're STAR test and of course exams, but also pre-test at the beginning of the year. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but I'd just like to hear a little conversation on that. So two parts. One, how can we qualify how well engaged our students are? And then two, at what point in time do we start to bring in a little more rigor?
Mr. Jackson, we will be able to quantify that even more as we move forward with the new system, the platform that we purchased with Schoology. It will tell us when the student logged in. We're still working on the logging out, but with the logging in, it'll tell us when they logged in, and it'll tell us how much time they spend on every activity. We do believe that we will need that, but we will also need some anecdotal type information as well, because not all activities or studies will be done in Schoology. So while the teacher may be able to push out an assignment through Schoology, the assignment may be done outside of Schoology, so that time isn't clocked in and then loaded up through Schoology back to the teacher. As you know, we have some wonderful software programs like Read 180, for example, that students will be using, and that one gives us information regarding engagement, regarding how long the student was actually on the system, and how long the student might have been idle. The system might have been idle, nothing was happening, or how long the activities were actually happening. So we have different resources that we can use that is going to give us that information, but Schoology is certainly going to be a big piece of it. As far as the assessments that TA has discussed, they actually had one that we could have given at the end of the year, but it is a star-like type assessment is what we were told, and then we have the option to give one at the beginning of the year. We chose not to do one at the end of the year. We had already shared with our community that there would not be a STAR test, and we just didn't feel that the stress level to put our kids through was needed to happen. We are going to look at it and consider it maybe for the beginning of year, but we have our own assessments that we also provide our district benchmarks that we do at the beginning of year as well.
Thank you for looking into that, and the conversations are important. This is an incredible fluid situation. So I'm definitely not looking for something hard and fast, but I am looking for the conversations that we are looking at the different concepts here. And I know the answer you may have on a Monday may not be the same answer you have on a Friday. The best example on a growth scale was at a graduations, right? But the same is going to happen academically, but also fine arts as well as in athletics. That really covers the simple question I have, and I'm just in awe of what you all have pulled together for the summer. And I know you will keep us surprised as we go along, so thank you.
Well, and I will just share with you that our teachers have done an incredible job. They did the self-paced training for Schoology, and this last week has been incredible. I've heard from many teachers. Some have emailed Dr. Hendry as well. And so they have jumped into the new platform and have been excited about teaching their students as best to face in front of the computer where they can see all their students. So I appreciate all that they've done.
Well, and they do need to be commended for that. I have a teacher on my little cul-de-sac, so I get routine updates as I go on my walk, but tremendous infusion of capital in this area. I would make a minor note, Mark. My questions on this from early March, I was following the SWOT approach, that strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I know y'all don't need one more thing. You really don't, so I'm not suggesting it. But in a time of great disruption, it's not a bad tool just to have in the back of your mind. But the strengths of this district and the opportunities you've seized, very impressive. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Just, Linda, just for the community's sake, I think the board knows this. The 37,500 students, what are they being charged for summer school?
Nothing. We have not charged anything, and we have programs that especially our high school courses that we do have a charge for, and there's nothing being charged this year for summer school. The district has taken care of everything.
Thank you.
Gilbert.
Yes, like stated before, great job by the presenters. A lot of going into getting the kids back, and I'm a big proponent of that. Getting the kids to start exercising their social protocols are going to be huge, and how we go along through the fall year and stuff. Let them get going. Let them start practicing so they can be leaders when they get back to the other ones who had not participated at that point yet. Also, I want to state to all the services, everybody behind the scenes, outstanding work. You got to get people in there. Ray stated people they're cleaning in between. They're having walkthroughs through different facilities. I can't imagine the details y'all have to go through to make sure to try your best to make sure that our children are safe, and we appreciate that very much. With that, I just want to make correction when we introduce Ray Cepeda, our athletic director, award-winning athletic director. So, there you go.
Ray, did you want to stand or anything? Just a couple of things. The 37,500 students, Dr. Macias, and you don't have to come all the way to the microphone. How many of those are going to be virtual students? How many do you think will be doing that, and how many do you think will be face-to-face?
Well, right now, all summer school students are virtual. And then we will transition some of them to face-to-face in July. And we're looking at what we originally had registered, and parents saying that they would send their kids was about 2,100 students around there.
Okay. All right.
It's different. We really wanted to have different groups there. So it's some of the Camp Summit kids, some of the 3 to 5 Camp Triumph kids, and then also some of the Algebra Camp students as well.
So we are all familiar about the Camp Summit, which we just think that's awesome. And now the third and fifth Camp Triumph. That's new this year. Is that correct?
That is new this year. Those are kids who, similar to Camp Summit, who are reading below grade level.
Okay. All right. Well, I think it's awesome that we're doing that. So just there's a great idea. Thank you. Mary Running, just can't imagine what you're going to have to do with bands and that are 250 in size. Do we have rooms that you can actually use, or what are we doing?
So when we start doing the 10 by 10 blocks in the rooms, that kind of limits how many students can be in a room at a time playing their instrument. But we've gotten creative. We think that the auditoriums are going to be, can fit a lot of students because we can sit them in the seats and put the director on the stage, and we're hoping to be able to put a large number of students in the auditoriums and be able to keep them 10 feet apart and allow them to rehearse inside when it gets hot and do it that way. And so we know this, how many 10 by 10 blocks we can get in most of our rooms, and we're just going to have to start planning and decide which sections will go to which room every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it'll be a challenge, but we'll figure it out.
I know. Thank you. That's just very creative, and I appreciate it. Y'all, this was a great presentation. Thank you very much. And it helps us as a board and looking at what we're doing. And I know Linda and I have talked about this, as we all have before, and that summer slump, and I'm so glad that we've got ideas that are going to avoid that. So thank you, Linda, for y'all coming up with that. Okay. Items 6B, 6C, and 6D under reports were presented at the board work session on Thursday, June the 11th, 2020. If you have any questions you'd like to go back and watch that, there was a great amount of reports that were shared with us. Before we proceed, would any board member like to further discuss the adoption of a resolution declaring CFISD's commitment to addressing racial inequities under agenda item 7A? I'm going to turn this over to John. Dr.
Yes.
Ogletree.
Thank you, Mr. President. We, after our meeting on Thursday, I met with Gilbert, and unfortunately Julie had some travel, and we decided that a resolution from our board was so essential to this season that our country finds itself in that we shouldn't rush putting it together. I personally want to thank Dr. Henry for the statement that he posted for our community in the aftermath of the George Floyd murder. And I thank you, Bob, for, as president, for making sure that this was on our agenda to discuss. Our motto for our district is opportunity for all, and this motto I know resonates with each of us as board members as we make decisions to further the goal of this district. And since the subject of justice and race is before us, I believe we need to take the steps necessary to make sure that we do as a board, and also help give guidance to our administration that this goal is realized even more with what our country is going through at this time. And that is why I have called for an outside organization to conduct a comprehensive equity audit of our district. I believe it will help us to really ensure opportunity for each student. We have a stellar district, but we all know that there are some gaps that need to be addressed. Test scores, national merit scholars, enrollment in dual credit courses, AP course enrollment, discipline practices. And I believe that once we get the outside audit, we can really see more clearly our gaps and be able to address them as really specifically. Black students, as we know from our test scores, are at the bottom of most of our scores. And I really want to just stress that there needs to be an understanding of why I don't believe the things that people might say that there, and I know it's not a lack of intelligence, not a lack of parental support, not a lack of effort. And thank God we do have some higher achievers among our black students. But until we get higher percentages where those students are not exceptions, I know we just can't be satisfied. I want to remind you of that in this country, slavery existed for 246 years. 246 years of free labor. And it was a brutal, inhumane, and sinful act that this country experienced. But after that, there was 89 years of what some would call legalized slavery after slavery. And this is history that many don't study, many don't know. There was segregation, there was the black codes that really kept perpetuating the employment and the disenfranchisement of blacks. There was over 4,000 documented lynchings from the end of the 1800s to the start of 1900s, and there was false arrests, Jim Crow laws that enforced segregation, false imprisonments, and more. And each of these, from slavery all the way through the aftermath of slavery, leading to the civil rights movement, there was a denial of economic empowerment, a denial of education, denial of voting rights, and more. So, in effect, black people as a group, the majority faced 335 years of legalized subjugation. And what we deal with today in our country are the vestiges of those 335 years. It is deeply rooted in the American fabric, hatred, racial prejudice, and it is very deeply rooted in our American fabric. And that is why across the nation there have been such an outcry for justice. I thank God that this cry for justice is coming from not just black people, it's coming from Hispanics, whites, Asians, everybody. And justice is simply giving people their rights, but it's also making right what was wrong. And that's what the nation is confronted with, and I think even our district, to a certain extent, is confronted with. And here's why I'm discussing this with you, because looking at our promise of opportunity for all, looking at our test scores, looking at our gaps, it will never happen until black people are looked at and in a different way and not treated as second-class citizens. It is just a fact that there's no other people group in our country that are constantly denounced, distrusted, doubted, or denied entry into the avenues of success. We always have to prove that we belong. no matter what degree we have, no matter what titles we have, no matter what experience we have, there will always be a reminder. If we forget, there will be a reminder that you're black. During our graduation time, it was interesting, and I didn't poll all of you. Each day when we came in the entrance, we parked where our all the board members park and come in that back entrance way, and we all were asked the COVID questions. You know, have you been coughing, diarrhea, all that, and for all the way to the beginning of the week to the end of the week, I simply said, no, I can answer no to all that. And then there came the occasion after I answered no and was about to walk toward the elevator that the person on the door said, excuse me, where are you going? And I had to just kind of collect myself and say, I'm a board member. But it was things like that, just a reminder, no matter how many elections you've won, no matter what your title is, no matter if you've served as president of the board, at any point, you could be subject that you have to prove that you belong. And I want us to understand this, and I'm not speaking for all the black employees here, but for the most part, this still exists, that you have to prove that you belong, that you are not, just given some privilege or some right, that you actually deserve it. You belong. And so what I wanted to do tonight in my statement is put on this mask to try to bring some desensitization to the issue here. And I'm going to take it back off, but I want people to just see this because if we're going to reach our goal in this district, these statements, these words have to not bother you. It just has not bother you. Black Lives Matter, 3 words that became a movement after the killing of unarmed black men 7 years ago. And please hear me, the 3 words, the term does not mean that no one else matters. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean that there needs to be a concerted effort to make sure that those on the bottom matter. The killing of unarmed black men and women indicate that blacks don't matter. I still, when I leave here tonight, I still, as old as I am, still will worry about getting stopped by a police officer, and probably no one sitting up here but me and Gilbert have to worry about that. And so it just comes along with that. And I want you to know that our students watch the same news and videos that we do. And they wonder and ask their parents the questions. Why the hate? Or why does this happen to us? And they wonder at times, do they matter? And this is important, and this opportunity for all, because in the past few weeks, I have received alleged posts, I haven't researched them, alleged posts that some of our teachers have posted some derogatory racial expressions on Facebook. And my immediate thought was, I wonder the black student in that classroom or students, how are they treated? How are they looked at? Sitting in that class, do they feel that there is opportunity for all? And so when I say Black Lives Matter, this is what I mean, that black students matter. And I believe that until that goes through every teacher, every AP, every DI, every counselor, every principal, that really means something, no matter what the behavior of the student is, no matter what the family background of the student is, the student still matters. I believe black parents matter, even if they don't volunteer at the school, even if they don't return the call. They may be working 2 jobs or 3 jobs. They matter. It means black teachers matter, that we need representation in all of our schools and all of our departments. It means black coaches matter. We should want them as a part of our coaching staff. Black administrators matter. Black history matters. Part of our problem is the history that concerns certain groups of people is not in our history. That's really not fully taught in our schools. And I think there needs to be a concerted effort. When you study the history, the contributions, the challenges, it helps raise up the level of a student's understanding of himself or herself, and their value to the community and to the country. I believe black ideas, opinions, skills, experiences, and participation matters. I believe black vendors matter. Black taxpayers matter. And I sure believe black board members matter. And I hope that I have made a contribution to this district and will continue to do it. I love the district. But I believe this needs to resonate across this district until all black people in and associated with our district can be open and transparent when they sense, see, or feel that they don't matter, unless they can be open and transparent about it, then we will never get there. And until we see that if we pull from the bottom up, then our district will not get there, that we have to do that. We need a district that whenever someone sees anyone treated like they do not matter, that person can actually speak about it without any fear of retribution. And what Tom just said is so true. We need to set up systems where people can actually talk. Because if you could hear the stories, of the perceptions and the feelings and what the thoughts were or are, then it will help us to further this idea that everyone matters, and we'll be a much better district. In closing, I'll say, and I'll turn it over to Gilbert, it is my prayer that CFISD be stellar, not just academically or athletically, but we also be stellar when it comes to opportunity for all. And I thank you for letting me share this, but I just felt like I needed to give some context to why we need to do the resolution in a different way. Gilbert.
Thank you, John. Gilbert?
Black Lives Matter. Board, I want to thank you guys first for giving me opportunity to speak in this issue here of unrest during our country. I want to thank Bob Covey for being brave and bringing up the subject. You know, that, I mean, John talked about that. That's not easy for you to do, and explaining don't know the answers, and I'm trying to learn. And that's a great conversation start. That's how you start a conversation. And I thank the board in that. Just because I am different color, brown, doesn't mean I'm naive also. I don't have all the answers. I don't know all the problems with the Black Lives Matter issue for a fact. So just because you're white and I'm brown, I'm in it with you also. I'm staying that same question that you're asking. I don't have all the answers and stuff, but I can relate some to in that aspect. But thank you, Bob, for giving me a chance to say something in the matter. First of all, you know, I felt the discrimination before. I told you guys that Thursday. You know, I've been stopped for no reason and berated up and down a handful of times. And not for speeding or anything else, just for being in the wrong neighborhood. And, you know, it's demeaning and stuff, to say the least. But I knew how to act to make sure nothing happened and stuff. I also felt it here in our community years ago when the kids were smaller and stuff, and it was demeaning again, but my children were with me at the time, and so I can lose my temper pretty quick sometimes and stuff. Have been known to, but at that time when my children were present, I did not. And for chief and the officers here, we love the officers and stuff. We love our police department. You know, a few bad apples does not make everybody bad. It just sends the wrong perception to them. You know, I have friends of my sons that I coach that are police officers now. We have friends in the coaching department that I've coached against for years that are police officers. And we see it here. You know, we have a chief here in our district, a chief in the city. You know, it is unfair to label all of them bad for bad apples. And I want to stress that we are not condemning anybody here, but this is a fact-finding mission, and we want to learn more and stuff. On the statement that was brought up by Bob the other day, we talked about that yesterday, and it's a very good statement. It's, you know, we want to learn, we want to, you know, treat justice and everything else, but we thought maybe in August, better resolution, we could write something up also, but we want to do something with teeth. And teeth being the equity audit that John was talking about and was endorsed by several members here on the board and stuff. So we want to do something that's really meaningful instead of just putting on there, we're going to sign it and then done with it. No, we want to get into a little bit more. And I have confidence in our district and our administration that we can come back with a good grade, but yet come back with some meaningful insight to how we can do better. Everybody can do better every day. It's just a fact of life. Graduation, you know, you could see the disparity there in graduation. You know, some schools had a fourth of their kids in honor roll, and some had maybe a fifth. And that's something that we need to work on, the equity gap. We need to work on that. But then again, when we saw the kids protesting in their own way during the national anthem and stuff, I didn't just see all black kids kneeling or all Spanish. I saw white, black, whatever color you were, brown, they were kneeling at that point. And that is how they felt their right is at this time an issue of unrest. But you didn't just see it just one group. It wasn't that way. So I feel we have a head start already by having that in front of us and not just saying, well, the percentage of people that knelt were black. No, it wasn't. It was not. I can guarantee you that. I was visibly checking that out every graduation and stuff. So I felt that we have a good head start in that department there. Is there an issue in our district? Yes, we had friends throughout the district face different adversities still to this day, you know, but you know, we can't control to a degree outside our realm of the district, but we can try and influence the good, and that's what we want to do, is influence the good. The equity audit that we're talking about, I feel is a needed issue. They can come back, this is their specialty, and they can come back with viable reasons to help. And that's all we're looking for is some reasons to help and stuff. So let me see here. I want to make sure I talked on everything. As a person of color, and some of y'all may not, some of us, we know, you had to talk with your parents, right? You had to talk with your parents what to do when you get stopped. I had my talk with my boys numerous times, over and over. When they got that driver's license, what do you do? Where are your hands when you are approached? What to have ready to hand out? No sudden movements, no back talk. That talk has to be taking place because of what I experienced and what you see what's going on at times. You know, these officers, they're taken aback too because of the unrest. They're not sure what's coming at them. And so there's training that needs to be done, but we've had to talk. And that's something that in some day of utopia here in Cypress District, maybe we don't have to talk that one day no more, you know? How far is it away? But it's something that we've had, and I still have it with the boys. Hey, you're coming from a U of H football game, you've been having a good time, you roll through that stop sign, you better make sure you do it the right way. You're always having that talk with the boys. And I would hope it's not only the kids of color, that all kids or parents are still talking to their parents, to their kids on how to respect the officers and make sure that they do it the right way. Other than that, you know, that's been a lot on my mind, a lot of sleepless nights. You know, we talk all the time how to turn off that phone at 2:30 in the morning and make sure that, but the first thing you do when you grab that phone is make sure that in the morning that everything's good with your kids that have been gone, that you didn't hear nothing. You know, you want to see the news, but you don't want to see, why did Richard call? You know, at, oh, heaven forbid, 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, you don't want that phone call and stuff. But I want to thank the board and Mark and the administration and stuff for giving us a chance to tell you how we feel and maybe how the community feels, and how being an elected official that we owe our community a little bit more insight to how the district is handling this important unrest at this time here. And I have confidence that the district will come out with flying colors If we have a nick here and there, we can clean it up. But I really have confidence that we can do good in a equity audit, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Julie, since you're part of this threesome, did you need to add anything?
No, I'm just listening and learning.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate and contribute.
Okay. Well, I appreciate y'all's input. Thank you. The board will now proceed with the consensus action items portion of the agenda. 8, action item 8A, the board will consider approving the minutes of the May 11th, 2020 regular board meeting. Any questions or concerns? Are we okay? Okay. Yes. Did it?
It's okay. He's got to log in.
Okay.
Is my password still password?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It used to just be the X, but they moved me up.
Since you learned a few letters.
Yeah, since I learned some new letters, they moved me up. Sweet, thank you so much. Yeah.
Now it's working, is it?
I was typing password with 1 S.
Ah. Okay, the following non-consent action items were moved to consensus during the board work session on Thursday, June 11th, 2020. 9A, the board will consider approving the budget amendments for the period of April 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2020. Any questions at all with that? 9D, the board will consider approving, is that right? Did I skip a page? No. The board will consider approving a resolution approving the district's investment policy and investment strategy, the investment officers of the district, the independent sources of instruction relating to investment responsibilities for the investment officers of the district, and the investment training hours. Any questions or concerns tonight? 9E, the board will consider approving a resolution for the commitment of the district's fund balance. Any questions or concern? Moving on. 9F, the board will consider approving a second reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 1, CE local annual operating budget, a revise. 2, FDB local admissions, intra-district transfers, and classroom assignments, a revise. 3, FM local student activities, a revise. Any questions on that? Moving on, 9G, the board will consider approving the TEA instructional materials inventory requirement waiver for the 2019-2020 school year due to the COVID-19. Any questions on that? Moving on, 9H, the board will consider modifying the 2020-2021 approved instructional calendar to help minimize instructional disruptions and adjust for learning loss in the event of a future school closure or closures as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Any questions? Moving on, 9I.
Mr. Covey, this is Marnie. I wanted to just clarify something on that agenda item because I think I think there might be a misunderstanding about that agenda item. I understand it's difficult sometimes, for lay people. They always say that I sound like the Charlie Brown teacher sometimes talking, but I wanted, yes, Julie's like, wah, wah. But I wanted to just clarify in regard to days versus minutes, because there was a concern raised about teachers, and there was a reference to a term contract hours, but teachers are not hourly employees, and so there are office hours, duty hours, just like, the instructional support center's open, 7 to 5:30, and I'm here present, to perform my duties, but as an exempt employee, just like teachers as professionals, they're paid a salary, and so that includes time outside of being physically present on campus, and so the salary actually does include all the time that it requires to perform duties for a professional employee. And Dr. Macias specifically was asking about the 15 minutes, and I shared with her that that legally, that with exempt employees and specifically with teachers under Chapter 21, we pay them a salary. And then there are duty days, and those are in days and not hours. And so adding the 15 minutes to the student instructional day actually adds the 8 days within the calendar that she explained, to allow us, if there were school closure days, that we would be able to use those. In the absence of that, of course, we would then have to make up those days, because again, it's duty days as opposed to hours. So if we didn't have those additional 15 minutes, and it's not just 15 additional minutes, it's actually coupled with 15 minutes elsewhere in the day for a 30-minute block for student remediation. And so it's important, and the 15 minutes then that we add to the time that we ask staff to be physically present on campus for safety and security is for exactly that, for safety and security. And so I guess I just wanted to clarify that. I know it can be confusing, but as it's not uncompensated time, I guess is what I want. That advice specifically to Dr. I just wanted to give that clarity.
Board, do y'all have any?
I have a question.
Yes.
So that goes back to my question to Dr. 180 is 172 plus, if you at the 15 minutes plus 4 days PD, so that 184. Am I thinking that correctly?
Well, it's minutes, and so minutes
not
make
days.
so. Explained it. I probably created some confusion in talking about days, because it's, and so we're taking on the additional instructional minutes that equate. Chapter 21 still specifically talks about and they're required to work a minimum of 187 days. I'll move to instructional minutes, but we still have duty days, for lack of a better way to equate to 8 school days in our district. And so if we had minutes that equated to 8 school, then we would already have those minutes in the bank.
Right.
Question on Thursday, I didn't really fully get till just now what you know, if we had
if it's
additional.
Still within the scope of the contract. If we do not, if let's say we are days or 10 days, that's if we don't do any distance.
And that's a different,
right?
well, that will be TEA. If
we're waiting on guidance.
Able to use some of those minutes through distance. And okay. I will share, you know, we brought our teachers work remotely, thank you, and employees employed. Yeah. And you all had given us that authority in advance, because we periodically have school closures. You gave us school closure leave policy that allows the superintendent to establish work schedules, and that's rolled into this agenda. You know, teachers on duty 9. They had to grade papers and do things outside of the 9 to So we do, on occasion, change the duty physically present administrators, of course, when there's things going on. And so if there's a meeting, an important staff meeting, then they're on duty. And so that duty day, and it's all within the salary of a but we annualize and pay over 12. But so we pay a salary for period.
Got it.
Okay.
Confusion and misunderstanding in
Yes.
the community, so it is helpful to have that explanation.
Yes, and I do. I just wanted to provide that clarity and hope that at least a little more in detail, because that was a question that was asked, and we did talk about it because we want to give a suggestion to you and make a recommendation.
Thank you.
And just to add one little thing, 1 year situation. We hope, and then we can go back to normal.
Okay. I think we're on 9. That's right. The board will consider approving a list of advanced courses for. Moving along, 9J, the board will consider a request for a TEA missed day result of the COVID-19 pandemic during 2019. Any questions or concerns? Nope. Authorizing the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding Emerson College, and the University of Houston for speech. Any questions or concerns? The board will consider approving the shared service arrangement. Lone Star College. Any questions or concerns here? Moving on. Approving the health care staff CBA Avena Healthcare, Avena, to provide health care needs and disabilities in Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. Moving on, 9N, the board will consider approving a day waiver for Kirk Elementary and Truett Middle School on these two campuses as a result of factoring. Questions or concerns? Nope. Moving on, 9O. Services, interlocal agreement with Harris County Protective Services, provide community use services for students and families in Cypress-Fairbanks. On this, moving on, 9Q, the board will consider authorizing on all contracts, easements, utility service, development, continued site development of the Cy-Fair ISD multi-campus facility Highway 290 to facilitate the new construction. Questions or concerns on that? Moving on, 9R. Sanitary sewer easement to Emerald Forest Utility District located line of the Food Production Center, Falcon. Superintendent or designee to negotiate and execute any and all necessary concerns. If any, please do so at this time. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consensus
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Bl- Motion and a second. Anyone have any questions? And it's unanimous. The following consent, 9B. The board will consider 21 budget. May I have a motion?
That the board approve the adoption of the 20.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Do I have a second? Anyone have any questions or concerns? All in favor, raise your right hand. May I have a motion to approve? Oh, I did say that. Financial institutions, brokers, dealers, investment pools, investment advisors, transactions with the district. May I have a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve a list of qualified financial that are authorized to engage in investment transactions with the district.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Are there any questions or concerns?
From voting on this, and the required disclosure item has.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And very much. Authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item. School supplies. 2, athletic all activity student accident. 4, CFISD UPS purchase and deployment project. Services. 7, excess workers compensation coverage renewal. 9, frozen and refrigerated foods for nutrition services. 11, process privacy and information security and automobile insurance. 13, ordinance renewal expansion. 14, produce for nutrition services. May I have a motion?
Award bids and contracts and/or author.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
I must, on advice of counsel, I must abstain from voting. Jake's Incorporated, who is being awarded
Okay.
and the appropriate documents have been filed.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Raise your right hand, and that's unanimous with 1 abstention. Aaron, thank you. Whoa.
Could I add just
I'm sorry.
one little quick announcement? We talked a lot and thanked. Just so you know, during that 6-day event, we graduated 8,685, 4,792 safe during that time. But the one thing that I wanted to remind the community, several students from Carlton Center,
Right.
and we had a recognition for them. We had many of our board members there, district administrators. Public school, in my opinion, is there is the not true in every education setting, and I'm proud that we have the resources to meeting the needs of those special students. So just wanted to
Something totally forgot it. We're adjourned.